Though, he looked as nobody, but still he cared a lot about his people.
I love you, man. I love you.
On that day, Mafia raped his best friend thinking what anybody can do against their power. Mafia would have been right if it weren't for his anger that fate had destined for the Mafia's destruction. Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The story kicks off in the glitzy streets of Vegas, where dreams and despair are two sides of the same coin. Nick Wilde, our main guy, strolls through the chaotic city, fixing problems left and right. First up, he deals with a spoiled rich kid who's totally out of sync with his girlfriend. It's a disaster of a relationship, but Nick somehow smooths things over, playing the hero that everyone needs. But Vegas doesn't let anyone off easy.
You're a coward, and your breath stinks.
Just as Nick wraps that up, a note shows up with the name Cyrus scribbled on it. It's urgent, like it's screaming for Nick's attention. Turns out, Cyrus Kinnick needs some help and is willing to pay handsomely. Nick's a gambler at heart, so he's a bit on the fence at first, but the money is just too good to pass up. Next, Nick hits up a diner and runs into a guy he helped the day before. The dude's thrilled. Nick's advice paid off big time. He tries to give Nick his cut, plus an extra $500 as a thank you. Nick, being Nick, takes his share, but refuses the bonus.
Said I was a coward and my breath was bad.
He's not greedy, just good at what he does. While hanging out at a restaurant, Nick gets handed a note from an old friend, Holly. She's in rough shape, beaten up badly, and she hugs Nick like she's clinging to the last bit of hope. When he asks what happened, she's hazy on the details. All she remembers is getting in an elevator with 3 guys after a date. One of them was calling the shots. They lured her to a suite, humiliated her, assaulted her, and left her dumped outside a hospital. Holly wants revenge. She doesn't want to sue them like she says. She's after blood. But Nick tries to distance himself, saying he's not a detective and Vegas is a big place. He even warned her not to go near the Golden Nugget, the hotel where it all went down. At first, he says no, but after some thought, he heads to the Golden Nugget anyway to dig up some info. Nick knows people everywhere, and one of his friends, a housekeeper, gives him the lowdown. The guy who attacked Holly is Danny DeMarco, a wannabe tough guy with gangster blood. His daddy's in the mob, so Danny always has muscle hanging around to protect him. The housekeeper warns Nick to stay far away from DeMarco, but we all know that's not going to happen.
Do not fuck with these guys.
Nick tells Holly he couldn't find anything, but she sees right through him. She pushes all the right buttons, and Nick feels like he's got no choice but to step up.
And when you hit bottom, who climbed down there and found you?
Later, Nick picks up Cyrus and shows him around Vegas. Instead of hitting the fancy spots, they end up at some rundown casino. Cyrus is all about making his money last, so he sticks to the cheap tables. While playing tour guide, Nick's also on bodyguard duty for Cyrus. The guy's betting a measly $10, and Nick figures no one's going to mess with him, so he lets Cyrus do his thing. Afterward, Nick checks in with Holly and tells her where DeMarco is, but he doesn't want to get more involved. Holly, though, has other plans. She doesn't want legal justice. She wants to ruin the guy. Despite the danger, Nick can't resist Holly's manipulation.
I want my revenge, Nikki.
He goes to confront DeMarco, pretending to be a guy sent by Baby, the local crime boss. Nick tries to play it cool, even claims to be Holly's pimp, hoping to settle things without too much trouble. DeMarco, not one to back down, gives Nick $50,000 as hush money, but then things take a nasty turn.
Would $50,000 cover your disrespect, Nick?
DeMarco starts mocking Nick, making him call him sir, and brag about how great his life is just to keep breathing. Nick plays along, hoping DeMarco will let him walk, but of course, that's not how it goes. DeMarco orders his guys to rough Nick up, but Nick's not the kind of guy who goes down easy. He fights back, breaking one thug's leg and slicing the other's face with a playing card before taking them both out. When DeMarco pulls a gun, Nick disarms him in classic Nick Wilde fashion, using the card again to knock him out cold. By the time DeMarco wakes up, he and his goons are tied up, and Holly's there, ready for her revenge. She reminds DeMarco exactly who she is, and this time, she's the one in control. The once cocky gangster is now a sobbing mess, and Holly's just getting started.
Oh, let me be, please.
Nick lets Holly know about the money situation, and without hesitation, she tosses the cash at him. But for her, it's not about the money at all. She wants to turn the tables and make him feel exactly how she felt. DeMarco's practically begging for his life, sobbing uncontrollably. Holly considers doing something drastic, but instead, she takes the money and walks away. Outside, Nick suggests they both get out of town. After all, she took the beating, and he took the risk. They split the cash and go their separate ways. With all that cash staring him in the face, Nick heads straight to the casino to scratch his gambling itch. He starts small, playing a $5 hand of blackjack, and hits a 19, getting lucky with a 2. He knows it's his last night in Vegas, so he goes big, swapping $1,000 for a single chip. Soon, his stack grows fast as he keeps doubling down on every win. Unfortunately, the dealer's shift ends, so Nick grabs his chips and heads for a drink. That's when he spots Cyrus at the bar. Nick's riding high on his winning streak, but then starts wondering, how do you know if your luck is truly gone if you've never pushed it to the limit? So, he returns to the table, placing maximum bets on every hand, and is on fire. Cyrus watches silently as Nick plays the whole table. Finally, Nick hits the jackpot, reaching $500,000. A perfect time to quit. Nick shares his dream with Cyrus. He plans to take the money and leave the country, living out his days in peace. He's feeling generous, even tipping a waiter $6,000. But when he heads toward the cashier, anxiety hits. $500,000's a lot, but Nick decides it's not enough to keep him out of trouble forever. So he puts it all, $500,000 plus the $25,000 he started with, on one last hand of blackjack. He gets a 17, and the dealer has a 10. Instead of standing, Nick takes a risky hit, hoping for a 4, but busts instead. To add salt to the wound, the dealer busts too. Nick would have won if he just played it safe. Now he's broke, but like any seasoned gambler, he shrugs it off. I came here with 25 grand, and I lost 25 grand. No big deal, he says, even though it clearly stings. After that, Nick spirals. He hits the restroom, completely losing it, then drinks himself into oblivion until he passes out. The next morning, Cyrus reveals his real reason for hanging around. He's a self-made millionaire and came to Vegas to learn from Nick how to be fearless in live business. He admits he never needed a bodyguard, but wanted to be close to Nick to learn from him. Cyrus offers to help Nick financially, but Nick refuses, saying yesterday he was rich. Today he's poor. Money won't fix what's broken inside him. Just as Nick and Cyrus are talking, DeMarco's men show up to take Nick to their boss. Nick flashes back to the moment he lost everything, fueling his anger, and in a matter of seconds, he takes down the 2 goons. More thugs show up, but Nick's too far gone. He beats them all before the cops arrive. Later, Nick meets with Baby, the mob boss of Vegas. DeMarco had filed a complaint against Nick, claiming he broke into his room, roughed him up, and killed 2 of his men to fund his gambling habit. Baby brings Nick face to face with DeMarco, and Nick lays it all out. He says DeMarco killed his own men, and the proof is in the small cut on a very sensitive part of DeMarco's anatomy. Baby jokingly asks DeMarco to drop his pants to prove Nick wrong.
You and I will go in the other room, and we'll both take down our pants.
But DeMarco refuses out of sheer embarrassment. Nick and Baby crack up, and DeMarco storms off in a rage.
Boy, would somebody shut this guy?
Despite the laughs, Baby warns Nick that DeMarco won't let this slide. Nick knows the storm's coming. He goes back to his favorite restaurant, where Cyrus finds him. Cyrus thanks Nick for showing him that everyone has fears, even tough guys like him. Cyrus offers Nick a check for $500,000 and a plane ticket to Corsica. Though Nick initially hesitates, thinking he's too far gone to accept help, Cyrus's sincerity wins him over. Just as Nick considers taking the check, DeMarco and his crew show up at the diner, ready for a showdown. But in a surprising twist, Cyrus steps up, pulling a bold move by singing loudly to distract DeMarco and give Nick a chance to escape. The goons chase after him while DeMarco vows to tear the town apart and find Nick, who's already hiding on the roof, armed and ready. Nick daydreams about a peaceful life, one where he's finally at ease. But before that can happen, he's got to finish what he started. He takes down the remaining thugs with whatever he can find, forks, knives, anything. In the end, it's just Nick and DeMarco. Nick lets DeMarco get a few hits in, then finishes him off, leaving him to reflect on his choices. After the dust settles, Cyrus insists Nick take the check and ticket. Nick finally agrees, realizing Cyrus is more than just some rich guy. He's a friend. Nick gets in his car and drives out of Vegas, leaving his chaotic past behind.